Welcome to Positive Atheism English channel. Today I am going to continue the article on The March of Atheism written by Jim Herrick, the well-known humanist and former editor of Humanist UK. Renaissance. After the decline of ancient Rome came the Christian era, sometimes known not entirely fairly as the Dark Ages. The march of atheism does not always move forward steadily, and the period from 400 to 1400 AD in some ways shows the march of atheism going into reverse, the trumpet and the drums go quiet. But the further development of atheistic humanism came with the Renaissance in Europe. Some of the ideas from the ancient world were revived partly through the transition of Arab thought. In art, literature, and science, there was a great emphasis on the human rather than the otherworldly. There was also a transition to the idea that the human community which you inhabited was where the importance of life could be found. The Italian educationalist D. Feltre wrote, "Not everyone is called to be a lawyer, a physician, a philosopher, to live in the public eye, nor has everyone outstanding gifts of natural capacity, but all of us are created for the life of social duty. All are responsible for the personal influence which goes forth from us." The positive attitude went side by side with the development of agnosticism, deism, and atheism. Two Italian Renaissance philosophers who contributed to the eventual development of unbelief were Pomponazzi and Bruno. Pomponazzi, in a particular, marshaled the arguments against the idea of immortality. And even though he retracted some of the arguments because it was dangerous to doubt, he remained firm and he was against the idea of rewards and punishments in an afterlife. Bruno was a major figure, a martyr to free thought. He developed a kind of pantheism by suggesting that God was to be found in all matter, and it was clear that he thought that all religions should be accepted with tolerance and that there should be freedom of thought to discuss religion. He was imprisoned by the Inquisition and burned at the stake. A Renaissance essayist of great note was Montaigne, whose approach is demonstrated by the maxim inscribed on the wall of his study. "I am a man, I consider nothing human to be alien to me." Equally suggestive is the quotation struck on one side of a medal, "What do I know?" and on the other side, "All that is certain is that nothing is certain." Montaigne influenced Shakespeare. The next important step is the 18th century movement of the Enlightenment, when the march was accompanied with drums and trumpets. Voltaire was a French campaigner against religion. A brilliant writer and satirist, he was a deist rather than an atheist. He was a virulent campaigner against organized religion and especially the Catholic Church. He believed in complete freedom of speech and wrote a treatise on toleration. Toleration was essential for the growth of atheism. It could only be understood and accepted in an atmosphere of total freedom of expression. Diderot was much more atheistic than Voltaire. His life's work was the compiling of the encyclopedia, which contained much subversive thought hidden in the footnotes. He was briefly imprisoned during his construction of the great work. He wrote that skepticism is the first step to truth. He also wrote at the end of his life, "There is only one virtue, justice, only one duty, to be happy, only one corollary, not to overvalue life and not to fear death." His last words are alleged to have been, "The first step towards philosophy is incredulity." One of the most emphatically atheist of the Enlightenment philosophers was D'Holbach. He was a complete materialist and a devastating critic of religion. In good sense, he wrote, "Religion has ever filled the mind of man with darkness and kept him in ignorance of his real duties and true interest. It is only by dispelling the clouds and phantoms of religion that we shall discover truth, reason, and morality." In the 19th and 20th century, the pace of the march of atheism quickened. Atheist and secularist organizations developed among the working people, and the currents of intellectual thought swayed in the direction of atheism. The National Secular Society in Britain became the primary campaigning organization, and its leader, Charles Bradlaugh, was a fine example of working class activist and thinker who changed the balance between secularism and religion in the UK. He struggled to enter parliament and became an important MP. He was in contact with atheists in Italy and traveled to India. He believed that religion would slowly wither away and die, the final arrival of March of Atheism. He wrote, "No religion is suddenly rejected by any people. It is rather gradually outgrown. None sees a religion die. Dead religions are like dead languages and absolute customs. The decay is long and like the glacier march is perceptible only to the careful watcher by comparisons extending over long periods." The currents of ideas moved in the direction of atheism and criticism of religion. The development of science and the scientific approach, of course, gave impetus to the march of atheism. Marx and Freud gave serious attention to the arguments for atheism and were themselves rationalists. Darwin, by his theory of evolution, changed people's beliefs about their origins. It was no longer necessary to posit a God as the cause of human development. This is something which will be celebrated in this year as we reach the 200th anniversary of Darwin's birth and the 150th anniversary of the publication of his ground-challenging work Of the Origin of Species. The philosopher John Stuart Mill put forward the arguments for liberty of thought, a necessary starting point for the development of atheism. A towering world figure in the march of atheism in the 20th century was Bertrand Russell, a mathematician, philosopher, peace campaigner, educationalist, writer, and rationalist. He lived through much of the 20th century, a century in which the march of atheism seemed to have reached its apogee. I do not describe the 20th century development here, which will be well known to you, of which Gora was a part. And from here, we shall continue in the next episode again. Thank you.
For more videos, please subscribe to this channel Positive Atheism and activate the bell icon. Please download Samaram multi-channel app and watch your favorite channels from your mobile. App available on Google Play Store and subscribe to the channels.